Welcome, Gents. People rarely fear what they understand. They fear what they cannot place in a familiar box. This simple truth explains why many normal people struggle to read Sigma males. They cannot predict him, label him, or decode him in the usual ways, so they create their own stories about who he is. And most of those stories say more about their insecurities than his reality. Sigma males move through life with a quiet confidence that does not need to be announced. They think deeply, act with intention, and protect their inner world in a way that feels strange to people who rely on constant interaction. To the average person, this creates a puzzle they cannot solve. They see a man who is comfortable with his own company and they interpret it as loneliness. They see a calm response and imagine emotional distance. They see independence and assume rebellion. They see silence and believe he is hiding something. The truth is far simpler. Sigma males operate on their own pace and their own logic. They do not rush to impress anyone, and they do not bend to fit a standard they never agreed to in the first place. Because of this, people project ideas onto them. Some think he is arrogant, others think he is cold, a few think he is mysterious. What they are really seeing is a man who refuses to live on autopilot. This introduction sets the stage for the real breakdown of how normal people perceive Sigma males and why their interpretations often miss the mark completely. Let's dive deeper, gents. Number 1. Some people assume he is unfriendly simply because he does not rush to join conversations. They see him standing on his own or listening quietly, and they immediately draw conclusions. In their minds, a man who is not quick to socialize must be cold or proud. What they fail to notice is that he is not avoiding people. He is simply comfortable with silence, and he chooses moments that feel genuine rather than moments that feel forced. His comfort in solitude often gets twisted into arrogance because most people do not know how to enjoy their own company. They rely on noise, chatter, and constant distraction to feel connected. So when they meet someone who can sit alone without feeling awkward, they interpret it as superiority. They think he is acting like he is above everyone else when the truth is far more human. Peace is where he feels most at home, because peace is the place where he can think clearly and breathe without pressure. Imagine a work meeting where everyone is trying to impress the boss with loud ideas. He is the one calmly listening, taking notes, and speaking only when he has something valuable to add. To some people, that looks like he is trying to be different or distant, but it is just the way he operates. He values clarity more than noise, and when he finally speaks, his words carry weight, because he did not waste them. Or picture a social gathering where people move in groups and talk about anything that fills the time. He finds a quiet corner, not to isolate himself but to recharge. Someone might whisper that he is not friendly. Meanwhile, he is observing the room, understanding people better than they understand themselves. He prefers depth over shallow moments, and he chooses presence over performance. People often misunderstand him because they judge from their own lens. They see their discomfort and project it onto him. The real truth is simple. His peace is not arrogance. It is self-knowledge. It is the awareness of what drains him and what grounds him. And once you understand that, his quiet nature stops feeling strange and starts looking like strength. Number 2. Some people think he is too private simply because they have never met a man who refuses to turn his life into social entertainment. They are used to people who share every thought, every move, and every emotion, as if life only matters when it is on display. So when they meet someone who does not overshare, someone who speaks only when he chooses to, they become suspicious. They assume he is hiding something when in reality he is just protecting something, his peace. We now live in a world where privacy feels strange. People treat personal stories like currency, They give away details about their lives just to feel included. A man who does not do that becomes an anomaly. An example is when friends gather and everyone takes turns talking about their struggles, their relationships, their frustrations. He listens with genuine interest, but rarely puts his own issues on the table. Not because he thinks he is above anyone, but because he believes not every part of his life deserves an audience. This level of privacy confuses those who equate openness with trust. If someone is quiet about his life, they assume something is wrong. They do not understand that some people process life internally. They do not think out loud. They do not cry publicly. They do not expose every wound just to feel understood. Instead, they heal in silence and speak only when their thoughts are clear. There is also a deep wisdom behind his privacy. He knows that the more people know about you, the easier it becomes for them to influence you. He has learned that personal information is not entertainment. It is access. And access is something he gives with intention. For example, he may share a dream with one person and a fear with another because he knows who can hold what without turning it into gossip or judgment. People often mistake this level of self-protection for secrecy. They think he is hard to read when he is simply being careful with his space. The truth is that privacy is not coldness. Privacy is maturity. It is the understanding that your life is valuable and not everyone has earned the right to witness it. Number 3. People assume he thinks he is better than everyone else. In truth, he just does not compete for attention, and this lack of effort threatens those who rely on it. It is amazing how quickly people judge a man who is not trying to be seen. In a world where many fight for the spotlight, the person who steps back instead of stepping forward becomes a problem, not because he is doing anything wrong, but because he exposes how dependent others are on being noticed. Think about a group setting where everyone is trying to impress. There is always someone talking the loudest, someone trying to dominate the space, someone trying to prove a point even when no one asked. Then there is him, calm, present, unbothered. He is not silent because he feels superior. He is silent because he has nothing to prove. And that alone unsettles those who need validation to feel valuable. His lack of competition is often mistaken for arrogance. People project their own insecurities onto him. When they see someone who does not need to be the center of attention, it forces them to confront their dependence on external approval. Instead of admitting that they want attention, they claim that he thinks he is better. It is easier to blame him than to face themselves. An example is at work when promotions are coming up. Some people campaign for recognition. They talk about their accomplishments at every opportunity. He simply focuses on his tasks. He lets his work speak. And somehow that quiet confidence makes others defensive. His calm presence reminds them that true confidence does not scream, it rests. Another example is in social circles. Some people feel uncomfortable when he does not respond to their attempts to impress him. They misread his calmness as judgment. In reality, he is just uninterested in competing for space. He believes attention is something that flows naturally, not something you fight for. What they call arrogance is actually self-containment. What they call pride is simply a man who knows his worth without announcing it. And that silent strength will always challenge those who depend on loudness to feel alive. Number 4. Many people think he is rude because he sets boundaries quickly. What they call attitude is simply clarity and self-protection. The truth is that most individuals struggle with boundaries in general. They say yes when they want to say no. They allow disrespect because they fear conflict. They stretch themselves thin to avoid disappointing others. So when they meet a man who can confidently say, "This is where I stop, and this is what I do not allow," they immediately label him as rude or difficult. What they fail to understand is that boundaries are not walls. Boundaries are filters. They separate what drains him from what strengthens him. They keep his life clean and his peace intact. An example is when someone tries to push him into conversations he does not want to have. Instead of pretending to be interested, he simply says he does not want to discuss it. Another person might see this as sharp or harsh because they are used to people bending to fit expectations. He is not rude, he is honest. In friendships, this becomes even more obvious. Some people expect constant access. They expect him to respond immediately, attend every event, listen to every complaint. When he does not, they assume he is unfriendly or uncaring. What they are seeing is a man who respects his own energy. He knows that giving too much of himself to everyone leaves nothing for the moments that truly matter. Even in relationships, his boundaries can confuse people. If he needs space to think, he says so. If he feels uncomfortable, he does not hide it. If something crosses his values, he addresses it immediately. To someone who has never experienced healthy self-respect, this looks like confrontation. But to him, it is maintenance. It is how he keeps emotional chaos from becoming a lifestyle. People misunderstand him because he does what they are afraid to do. He protects himself without apology. He chooses peace over pleasing. He chooses honesty over comfort. And in a world where many avoid clear communication, a man who sets boundaries with confidence will always be misunderstood before he is appreciated. Number 5. Some people think he has trust issues simply because he does not hand over his life to whoever smiles at him. They do not understand that what looks like caution is actually standards. He is not afraid of people. He is aware of them. He has seen how easily the wrong person can damage your peace, drain your energy, or twist your loyalty into something you no longer recognize. So he learned early that trust is not a gift you throw around. It is something you give with intention. Most people treat trust like small talk. They share too much too fast and then wonder why they keep getting hurt. He does the opposite. He watches. He listens. He studies patterns. He pays attention to how someone treats others, not just how they treat him. He wants to see consistency, not perfection. And this alone makes some people uncomfortable because it exposes their own lack of accountability. For example, in friendships, he does not open up simply because someone calls him bro or acts friendly for a week. He pays attention to how they behave when they are angry, stressed, or embarrassed. He notices if they gossip about their closest friends, because he knows that one day he could become the topic too. People call this trust issues when it is simply wisdom. In relationships, he does not fall for sweet words or romantic promises. He wants alignment. He wants someone whose actions match their language. If someone shows signs of manipulation or emotional instability, he pulls back immediately. Not because he fears love, but because he respects himself enough not to force what does not feel safe. Even at work, he is careful with alliances. He chooses collaboration over blind loyalty. He knows that the wrong colleague can damage your reputation faster than your work can repair it. People misunderstand him because they mistake standards for fear. The truth is that he trusts deeply, but only when someone has proven they can hold that trust without breaking it. He does not have trust issues. He simply refuses to hand his life to people who have not earned a place in it. Number 6. People assume he is always calculating. They picture him sitting there planning 10 steps ahead or trying to outsmart everyone in the room. What they do not realize is that he is simply aware of cause and effect. He understands that every choice leads somewhere, and every action creates a ripple. Because he sees life this way, he refuses to act blindly the way many people do. Most people move through life reacting rather than thinking. They jump into situations without asking why. They speak before understanding. They commit to things they did not evaluate. Later, when the consequences appear, they act surprised. He is the opposite. He pauses, not because he is plotting, but because he cares about where his decisions will land. And that stillness often gets misread as calculation. For example, imagine a group of friends planning a risky business idea. Everyone is excited. Everyone is talking fast. He listens first. He asks questions. He checks if there is a solid plan or just enthusiasm. Some might whisper that he is overthinking or being strategic in a negative way. What he is really doing is protecting his future. He knows that signing his name on anything without understanding it is the fastest way to regret. Even in conversations, he chooses his responses with care. If someone provokes him, he does not jump into emotional reactions. If a situation escalates, he studies it before acting. This makes people assume he is running calculations in his mind like a machine. In reality, he is simply showing emotional maturity. He understands that reacting blindly can turn small problems into disasters. The same thing happens in relationships. He takes his time to understand someone's intentions before giving them a place in his life. He watches for patterns, not because he is suspicious, but because he knows that ignoring red flags always ends in pain. People misjudge him because they confuse awareness with manipulation. What they label as calculating is actually clarity. He does not guess. He does not gamble with his peace. He makes decisions with eyes wide open, while many make decisions with eyes closed and hope everything works out. That is the real difference. Number 7. Some people think he is intimidating simply because he speaks less. They try to convince themselves that he is distant or unfriendly, but deep down something else is happening. Silence from a man who knows his worth has a strange effect on people who use noise to feel important. His quiet presence exposes the insecurities of those who are only pretending to be confident. Many people talk a lot because they are scared of what silence might reveal. Silence forces honesty. Silence shows who is comfortable with themselves and who is not. So when he sits calmly, listening instead of rushing to talk, people feel their own confidence being tested. They start to wonder why he is so calm. They wonder what he is thinking. They wonder why he does not try to impress anyone. In their confusion, they label him intimidating. Imagine a group discussion where everyone is trying to dominate the conversation. Someone cracks jokes to get approval. Another person speaks loudly to appear smart. Meanwhile, he is observing quietly. He waits until he has something meaningful to add. He understands that words carry power when they are not used carelessly. The moment he finally speaks, the room listens, not because he demands attention, but because his silence has already built a sense of presence. This is what unsettles people. They cannot understand how someone can influence a room without making noise. His silence is not a weapon. It is a reflection of self-control. He does not need to fill every moment with words. He is comfortable with thought. He is comfortable with listening. He is comfortable with simply being. People who are used to performing feel threatened by that level of ease. Even in personal conversations, he listens deeply. He takes time to process. Some mistake this for judgment or superiority. In reality, he wants to understand before he speaks. This rare patience often reveals how shallow others can be. They talk quickly to avoid looking weak. He speaks slowly to avoid sounding empty. What people call intimidation is simply a man who is not afraid of his own silence. And that quiet confidence will always challenge those who depend on noise to feel significant. Number 8. People assume he hates social events. They see him stepping back or declining invitations and immediately label him as antisocial or unfriendly. What they do not realize is that it is not the people he avoids, but the energy of the environment. He has no interest in spaces filled with gossip, meaningless chatter, or shallow energy that drains rather than feeds the mind. Social events themselves are not the problem. It is the noise and pretense he cannot tolerate. Most people treat social gatherings as a game of appearances. They try to impress, to out-talk others, or to prove they belong. He sees straight through it. Sitting in a circle where everyone talks about things that do not matter to him feels exhausting. It is not a dislike of people, but a dislike of wasting time and energy. To him, life is too short to engage in meaningless loops. Imagine a party where people are whispering about who said what last week or who is dating who. He observes silently, choosing only to interact when the conversation has substance. Some call this cold or distant. They cannot understand that he is protecting his peace and choosing what he allows into his mind. He prefers few conversations that matter over countless empty exchanges. Even in professional gatherings, he approaches differently. He listens more than he talks, engaging only when there is clarity or opportunity to grow. He does not need to impress anyone or pretend to enjoy discussions that feel shallow. That restraint often makes others feel judged, but in reality, he is simply conserving his energy for meaningful experiences. The truth is that his discomfort in these spaces is not social fear or dislike of people. It is discernment. He recognizes what nourishes him and what does not, and he makes conscious choices accordingly. People often misread his avoidance as hatred, but it is really wisdom in action. Choosing mental clarity over meaningless activity is not a flaw. It is strength, and this strength makes him stand apart in ways most people cannot even comprehend. Number 9. Many people think he rarely needs help. They assume he is completely self-sufficient or unwilling to lean on anyone. The truth is far simpler and far more deliberate. He does not refuse help out of pride. He refuses to depend on people whose support is conditional, who show up only when it benefits them, or who vanish when things get difficult. His independence is a filter, not a fortress. Most people are used to relationships where favors and support come with strings attached. They give to be noticed or remembered, not out of genuine care. He learned early to recognize this pattern. Asking for help from someone who will disappear in the first moment of real struggle is pointless. It is not weakness to avoid this. It is wisdom. For example, imagine a work crisis where a project is about to fail. Many colleagues offer advice or assistance, but only if it will make them look good in the end. He will assess who is reliable, who has demonstrated consistency, and who actually cares about the outcome rather than the credit. Only then will he accept support. People may interpret his restraint as pride or emotional distance, but it is simply discernment. The same happens in personal life. When a friend faces hardship, some people only show up for attention or sympathy. He recognizes these patterns and chooses to solve problems with those who are trustworthy. That does not mean he avoids help entirely. It means he chooses allies carefully. The right support strengthens him without compromising his integrity. His ability to navigate life this way makes him appear self-reliant. But it is more than that. It is strategic care for his own energy and peace. By avoiding unreliable support, he protects himself from disappointment and wasted effort. What others label as stubbornness or distance is actually clarity and intentional living. In a world where people often give conditionally, he refuses to gamble with his life and his trust. And that makes all the difference. Number 10. Many people think he is mysterious. They see him quiet, composed, and selective about what he shares, and they immediately assume he is hiding something or playing games. The truth is far more simple and far more human. He is not mysterious for the sake of being intriguing. He is transparent with those who earn access and invisible to those who only look at his surface. Most people mistake silence and selective sharing for secrecy. They do not understand that real clarity and honesty do not need to be broadcast to the world. He does not perform or explain himself for the sake of others. He reveals his thoughts, feelings, and intentions only to those who have proven they are worthy of them. Those who are content with shallow observation will see only a fraction of him, and they call that fraction mysterious. For example, in friendships, he might remain calm and reserved while others chatter about trivial things. To casual observers, this quietness feels like an enigma, but to those who have earned his trust, he opens up with depth, sharing insights, vulnerabilities, and perspectives that few ever witness. His transparency is selective, not absent. The same applies to work and social interactions. He does not need to impress. He does not need to explain his every decision. People who look only at actions without understanding intention label him unpredictable or mysterious. In reality, he simply guards his inner life from anyone who has not proven respect, discretion, or alignment. Even in relationships, his perceived mystery is simply the result of discernment. He invests attention and emotion carefully. Those who are genuine see him fully, while those who are superficial remain on the outside, trying to guess what they cannot see. What people call mystery is actually a reflection of their own inability to connect deeply. He is not unknowable. He is not performing intrigue. He is simply intentional with access to himself. To those who deserve it, he is clear and open. To those who do not, he remains invisible. That is not mystery. That is wisdom. Number 11. People often believe he is hard to approach. They see him calm, composed, and quietly observing, and they assume he is unwelcoming or distant. What they are really feeling is not his distance, but the weight of his self-respect. It is a subtle force, a quiet presence that communicates he values himself and will not tolerate nonsense. For those who lack the same sense of self-worth, this presence can feel intimidating. Most people are used to energy that is easy to influence. They are accustomed to others bending, compromising, or performing to make them comfortable. When someone stands firm without aggression, it challenges their perception. They feel exposed because they are confronted with a standard they cannot easily match. His calmness and composure shine a light on their insecurities without him ever saying a word. Imagine a networking event where people are moving from conversation to conversation, trying to impress. He is standing quietly, observing, and engaging only when the moment is meaningful. Someone may interpret this as aloofness. In reality, he is simply holding his ground. His self-respect creates a natural filter. Only those willing to rise to that level of integrity and authenticity can connect with him easily. Even in casual interactions, people feel this weight. When he communicates boundaries, expresses opinions with clarity, or remains unbothered by trivial drama, others notice it. Some misread it as arrogance or unfriendliness, but it is actually the reflection of someone who has defined their standards and refuses to lower them for comfort or approval. What they call unapproachability is not a flaw or a wall, it is a mirror. It shows them where they fall short in their own self-respect. And while many shy away from it, those who are grounded and confident find him refreshing, even inspiring. His presence does not seek to intimidate, but it cannot help revealing truths that some are not ready to face. That is why he is often misunderstood. In final words, the deepest truths are often invisible to those who only look on the surface. Throughout life, people often misjudge those who move differently from the crowd. Many assume he is arrogant, distant, or mysterious simply because they cannot fit him into familiar patterns. They mistake quiet confidence for superiority, selective sharing for secrecy, and calm observation for calculation. What they fail to understand is that his way of being is not about impressing anyone. It is about clarity, self-respect, and intentional living. Normal people often project their insecurities onto him. They feel threatened by someone who protects his peace, sets boundaries, and values depth over triviality. Silence, privacy, and discernment can seem intimidating to those who rely on noise, social performance, or shallow approval. But what appears mysterious or unapproachable is actually wisdom in action. He does not need to explain himself constantly because his life and decisions are guided by a clear understanding of what matters and what does not. He is consistent, intentional, and aware of the ripple effects of every action. People confuse this awareness with calculation, his privacy with coldness, and his calm presence with intimidation. In reality, he is simply navigating life with thoughtfulness, integrity, and care for his own energy. The brutal truth is that most people cannot see him clearly because they are looking for the wrong things. They are trying to interpret him through their own insecurities rather than through observation and understanding. Once you look beyond assumptions and projections, his behavior is not strange or mysterious. It is simply the reflection of a man who knows himself, protects his life, and lives deliberately. The clarity of his existence reveals more about those observing than it does about him. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.